Hello and welcome to my quick tutorial on how to change the colors in your photos. This tutorial is being done on Adobe Photoshop. So basically I will be showing you how to take your pink bowl photo, which is one of Jamie's stock photos, to this, making it blue or any color that you choose. Okay, so step one, you're going to want to open your image. Step two is you're going to want to add a new layer. Third step, head up to select and you're going to pick color range. Now this is what your screen is going to kind of look like. Next thing you're going to want to do is on the right side here, you're going to see three little eyedroppers. So the first eyedropper is just going to pick your general kind of color, and I like to have this in grayscale just because I find that it shows the difference very, very clearly. So anything in white is what is currently selected that will be changed, and whatever is in black is omitted. So in this particular case, we could even go with white matte since it seems to be showing the color of the bowl. So if you want to be sure that you've grabbed everything that is pink, you can always use the white matte option. However, generally 99% of the time I use grayscale. So step one, select the basic color of your bowl. Now wherever you touch is going to change what's selected with this particular eyedropper tool. So if I select over here, that's selected now. If I click here, that little section is selected, and so on and so forth. So step one within this section is to select the back of the bowl that you know for sure is pink. Next, you're going to want to select the little eyedropper tool with a plus. What that is going to do is allow you to add spots of the photo. So now I can click pretty much anywhere and anything that I touch is now selected to have the color changed. So let's say, for example, you're using this and you accidentally click just outside the bowl and you're like, I don't want that selected. I don't want to change the color of the fur. The little minus will allow you to eliminate things that you do not want changed. So if things at the background are selected for whatever reason, the more times you press that little minus, the more it will disappear. And when it is fully solid white or black, depending which preview you're using, when it's solid white or black, it means it's completely deselected. So let's completely deselect this black brush here because we don't want that to change. We want to only change the bowl. But don't forget, when you're looking at the original photo, the very outline of the brush does have a little bit of like a pink reflect. So if the outer outline of the brush is selected, that's not the end of the world. It might actually save you and help you in the long run. So let's try and get rid of as much of this brush as we can. There we go, that looks pretty good. Okay, now if you want to compare to see how much of that pink you actually have, you can always press image, and this side image here will show you the original picture. So if you look at it and you realize like, oh, hang on, the outside of the bowl right at the very foreground is actually kind of pink. So there we go. Now we can select it and suddenly I have more pink showing up in my photo. So the more you kind of like, this is the part of the process where the more you click and the more thorough and precise you are, the more pink you will get rid of in the long run when you are getting to the color changing portion of it. So for the tutorial, let's say this looks pretty darn good and pretty selected enough. Whenever I click somewhere, it doesn't seem to be adding too much more. So I think, let's say that this is good for now. So go ahead and press OK. And look, you've got your whole thing selected. So now, this is the final step pretty much, the fun final step. You're going to go to Adjustments on the right-hand side, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation. Hue is what's going to change the color of your bowl. Saturation will give you how saturated of a color it is. And then lightness, if you want it to be brighter, like a brighter kind of color, or darker. I don't really play with lightness too much because I find it kind of looks a little fake, and saturation as well. So let's say we want to go to a blue bowl. just because the hue bar is a rainbow doesn't mean wherever you click is what color it's going to be. You just kind of have to play with it to find what color it is you want. So if we want blue, we're going to go all the way to the other end and we can make it blue. And if we wanted it purple, if we wanted it a different shade of pink, if we wanted it yellow, green, or again, a blue. So we want it blue in this particular case. So let's say we want this kind of a blue. And then your saturation also helps. So I find the higher the saturation, the more fake it looks. So I would lower that saturation a little bit, kind of put it somewhere where it still looks blue, but not quite so intense. And then your lightness, same sort of thing. So if you go darker, kind of grays things out a little bit, makes it a little fake looking. Too bright will just make it white, so you don't want to go too bright either. Depends on the kind of color scheme of your page too. If you're a darker kind of theme, then you can always make it a bit deeper, and if you are a brighter page, then you can always make it a bit of a brighter blue, kind of whatever works for you. But I think something like that looks not too bad. And of course, if you have areas where you're like, oh, there's too much pink left, you can use a brush and kind of fill some things in if you want. So let's say right around here, you're like, oh, there's too much pink left. I'll go to my brush tool on the left and just kind of do it where your selected layer is, and it'll only fill in what is previously selected. So it won't really let you get outside of the lines too much. And it kind of softens the color out a bit as well. So it just kind of blends in and matches better. Just want to add that little bit of a blue kind of highlight to the brush that was previously there already. These areas I don't worry too much because when you're not zoomed in, it's not so bad. Really depends what you're using the photo for. But I find that that didn't look too bad. Let's take a look, and look at that. Now your highlights are blue to match your bold color. So there you have it. That is pretty much how I changed the colors of stock photos to more match my grid as opposed to what they originally were. Not that anything is wrong with the originals. They're beautiful and they're great. The color scheme just didn't match my page. So that's why I started kind of adjusting them to match my color scheme a little bit better. And that is pretty much how I do it. Like I said, you can go a lot more thorough with it if you want to when it comes to your selection tool, or when it comes to the last little bit of adjustments with the brush tool, things like that. But that's pretty much it. And then all you want to do afterwards is File, Save As, and then pick a JPEG format, just a regular JPEG, and then where it is that you want to save it. I recommend your desktop, just the easiest to find, and then of course name it whatever you want to name it and press save. And then you're pretty good to go. So quick final recap. Step 1, you're going to want to open your image. Step 2, create your new layer. Step 3, select color range. Step 4, go through the process of selecting the different colors that you want. Start with the regular dropper tool to pick your base color, and then go in with the dropper plus in order to grab as much of that pink as you possibly can, or whatever color it is you're trying to change. Press OK. Step 5, open the hue and saturation panel, and then play around with the hue, saturation, and lightness in order to create the color that you want, that you like best. And optional step 6, make sure that you are on the hue and saturation layer, select your brush, and make sure white is selected, and then you can go in and you can add blue anywhere that you missed it previously. So just as in the select color range, anything you paint white will change color. Anything that, if you were to switch it and go black, anything you paint black will go back to its original color. So just keep that in mind. And then final step, File, Save As, rename it, Pick where you want to save it. Again, I recommend desktop so it's easy to find. And finally, your format, a JPEG. And that is it. Please let me know if you have any other questions, if you're having any trouble understanding any of the steps. Thank you all for watching, and I hope that this was helpful. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.